Hello, in this video we're going to learn how to make this sunflower wall hanging and or mesh wreath. The supplies that you need are one work wreath. In this case we're using yellow. You can choose a number of different colors. It takes one roll of 10-inch burlap mesh and one roll of 21-inch metallic mesh. The burlap mesh I have cut into approximate squares already that are also about 10 inches, but all I did was just fold it over and cut. So it doesn't have to be precise, but you need 18 of those cut because you've got 18 sets of ties around the outside. So I have that pre-cut already for us to begin. And then we just take our metallic mesh to start off with so that we can do the center of our flower. Now, I have spread all of these out, as you can see, so it's easy for me to grab and to tie already. So I always like to do that before I start on any of my wreaths, depending on what I'm going to do. Now, because I want this raw edge where I've gathered up on the inside, I'm going to start backwards and keep that raw edge to the center of my flower. And I'm going to twist this down. Now this is the same technique that you would use for pumpkins or anything that you want a flatter surface on. Now this first edge I'm going to pull a little bit tight because it's going to be the edge of my circle. And then as I flip back and forth, it will bow up more in the center because I can use it a little bit more loosely. Now you're going to use some ties more than once because you want to fill that circle in fully. That's not an issue, and don't worry about it as you're going back and forth. It's amazing how the edges fill in, and of course you also want it to appear to be opaque in the middle. Now as I get this going, now then you see here there's an empty spot still. If I do a figure 8 with my ribbon, the curve of it itself helps to fill that in for my next run, and then I can move onward with my piece. And so as you can see, this arches up in the middle, forms that bulging section just like the center of a sunflower would be. And we keep moving onward with the piece. Moving over to the next tie. Okay, and then again, as we're moving over to the edge here, we want to pull that tighter so that it follows that arch that we've got going. Let's see, I think we'll reuse this one and pull that down just a bit. And then we'll come back across. I'll stay on this side so you can see easily. And tie into this last piece. Let that bulge just a tiny bit. Okay, and then trim off our mesh and tuck this edge underneath. That way you have no raw edges. Now then, in this instance, we're still going to be using the ties, so we want all of those to still be standing up. Now, the next step, we're ready for our petals. So we bring out our squares of fabric, and all you do is take the two opposite points and start just gathering in with your two fingers until you can pinch that together like so. And all you have to do the bottom first, work your way up, is just come around, twist that one, and pull those points outwards. Again, just keep repeating. Go to the next one. Tie that in, pull those points outwards. The points of the mesh themselves start working against each other to help keep your flower petals outward and stay under control. And so you just merely repeat this, in this instance, 18 times. Now, depending on the size of the wreath frame you do, of course, there are different numbers of ties, but you just want one petal per tie. And it's amazing how when you start out doing this with the petals and you're going to think, this is not going to look right, it's not doing right, it's not looking like flower petals. Be patient and wait until you're done. When you start putting that second layer in, then it's amazing how everything starts falling into place all on its own. So no panicking, no nerves going on, no major frustration. It's not time for that yet. Just pleat and tie. Always make sure that you do tie tightly. Don't just leave loose and just grab the ends and twist, because you will run out if you do that, and then you have to go back and untwist and push the mesh down more. So always tie it tightly the first time. If you need inspiration for how tightly to do it, pretend that you're choking your spouse with it. That generally will give you some sort of motivation to pull it down as tight as you need to. Last one. Pull that in, pull those points out, and you've got all of your mesh applied. Now then, at that point, you can just fluff a little bit if you need to. The extra tips that are still sticking up, just kind of make sure those are kind of uniform around, because in this case we're leaving them exposed. If you don't like that exposed, you can take deer moss or pods or anything else that you might like and glue in a row all the way around it, if you want to go to that effort. Otherwise, leave it just like this. Of course, on a normal sunflower, you've got those little bitty blooms around the edges of the seeds anyway. So there you have your completed sunflower wreath. And it's really such an easy and fun project to do. I'm sure you'll love it for your front door or inside your home. And you can get all of this at Trees and Trends. Visit our website whenever possible and see what we have new for you. Thanks.